What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Web3 DJs. You know, if it's happening in the NFT, crypto, or Web3 space, that we're highlighting it here. Today, we have a thrilling episode. We're joined by oddoneoutlabs team member and the community manager for a socially conscious NFT project that's bridging art and utility while bringing awareness to body dysmorphia and more on the blockchain. Live from London, we would like to welcome to the show none other than Nurse Ouma and the Humanians. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I've been so excited about this show. I'm so happy to be here. Let's go. Let's get it.
Absolutely. You know, we're thrilled to have you here. And so why don't we just go ahead and kick the show off by telling people about yourself? Like, let us know who is Ouma outside of Web3.
For sure. So you introduced me so well just then as well. I am a nurse by background. I'm a psychiatric nurse by background. We can call that a mental health nurse in the UK, or it can be called a psychiatric nurse in other countries, which means I support the treatment and support people struggling with mental health conditions, and that could be in a hospital, it could be with a community team, and yeah, I've got quite a few years of clinical practice under my belt, which is nice. I'm a bit more of an experienced nurse, so I've supported the treatment of quite severe conditions sometimes, such as psychosis, where people lose touch with reality, or schizophrenia, depression, eating disorders, or sometimes people struggle with a number of things, like, for example, type 1 diabetes and their mental health, because your physical health really affects your mental health, right? Or, for example, are like lovely people who are on the spectrum, on the autism spectrum, and how they can feel a bit isolated because of their social communication problems, and then become depressed, and we really help to give them those skills to kind of cope with whatever they're struggling with. So that's me as a background. I was working in a hospital when the pandemic hit, so we were hit quite hard. I was definitely working all out. And it was a good couple of months ago. I joined Web3. Gosh, when did I join? Almost like the beginning of this year, like January, maybe even December last year. But you know what I was doing? I was kind of playing a lot of games, just to get me through like the tough shift I've had, right, or something, right? So I wasn't taking it seriously at all. I was just like playing games and having fun. And then it was really my friends and family who said, the worst of COVID is over now, and it's really time for you to take a bit of a break now and recharge, because I think a lot of people in healthcare are probably feeling the same, just some signs of clinical burnout. Yeah. So I was definitely exhausted, and I think my poor family and my husband were feeling very sorry for me. They were like, "You worked really hard. Why don't you take a break and go fully into this Web3 space that you've discovered that you love so much, that you're talking to us so much about?" And just around the same time of me thinking about that, the Humanians oddoneoutlabs reached out to me. They saw me on Twitter. I was, tweeting about, guys, are we looking after well-being in Web3? Are we, leaders in this field? Are we keeping that in mind with our lovely community members, right? Are we keeping their well-being in mind? And I kind of put it out there that I really want to promote health and well-being in the Web3 space, and I can do that because I have the skills to do that, I have the background to do that, and I can maybe advise, and then that's when it was Gawain, actually, from there I am. Yeah. And there's Thomas, our other community manager. Yeah. It was Gawain and Josh, who's our founder, but a lot of our founders reached out to me and said, "Ouma, we love what you're trying to do and what you want to do. Would you like to join us as our community manager for the Humanians, as one of the community managers. Thomas is our other community manager. And the rest is history. I've had the best few months. Like I was working with them quite a long time while I was still nursing full time. So I'd be rushing home after a shift and then be like, all right, we're doing a seminar today, guys. Let's get into it. And we'd be going into like sleep hygiene, or, you know, that managing that fear of missing out, managing FOMO,
Right.
managing, you know, your balance in this space, right? And we all sorts. The community was so lovely. They wanted me to talk about all kinds of things. They were like, you know, Uma, I have like a cousin who struggles with autism, so, you know, what kind of tips would you give me of how do I support them with their mental health? Or I have a friend with depression, how can I be a good friend to them? So many cool topics we covered, and we recorded quite a lot of them in my Discord as well. But at the moment we're reaching out into Twitter and doing lots of lovely collaborations with lots of other projects, and I'm asking them, what do you want to hear about? What would your community benefit from? I'll do it.
Yeah, it's really interesting, the mix of people that you guys have in the project. I was reading the bios, so you have someone in the fashion industry, someone in the film industry, French entrepreneur. You've got, and then it's just interesting how, like, this is what you see in Web3. You have people that probably wouldn't hang out or know each other, but we have this collective interest, and now you guys are working together and doing something really creative. But how did this whole team get put together? That's what I was trying to figure out.
Yeah, it's such a great question. I'm glad you asked it, because, for example, people might look at all that bio and think that they don't know each other very well, but actually our founders do know each other quite well.
Okay.
So they all work together. Actually, they've known each other for quite a few years, so they've got quite a strong bond. Josh, Romain, Gawain, Omri, they all know each other, and they've worked quite closely together, mostly in the fashion industry, which is actually why they were so keen on the first collection and our artist, she's amazing, Amber Day Visby, um, um, sorry, our artist Amber. What she's really kind of passionate about is this lovely art style where the body is slightly distorted in a bit kind of exaggerated way, right? Certain body features or body proportions. What we're trying to do, what she's trying to do, and what the Humanians were really wanting to do, was to raise awareness for body dysmorphia. And it hits home to them because they've been in the fashion industry, right? They've worked in this industry. They've seen firsthand maybe some of how the effects it can have on people. And uh, I know some of them say this a bit, but almost feel like almost like they contributed a little bit to that for working in that fashion
Sure.
industry, and they
Definitely.
want to, do some good out there to bring some awareness out there that body dysmorphia affects so much more people than you think, and people don't talk about it. People have it, experience it. They don't know that it can even develop into even more severe, like body dysmorphic disorder, which is, that step further into an actual clinical disease. Body dysmorphia, of course, is very difficult as well, but into a disease that can have people not able to leave their houses for 5 years. And that's not an exaggeration. Those are quite common cases with people who suffer from body dysmorphic disorder. So that's really what they wanted to do with this first project. Every kind of collection that we want to bring out from Odd One Out Labs is going to have a social impact of some sort. We're a social impact kind of agency, if that makes sense. That's what we want to do. And we've started off, with body dysmorphia, which is why it's great that they got me involved, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's beautiful that you're able to come in and kind of, rather than just focus on this one aspect of mental well-being, if you will, you can really push the bounds. And, some of the things that you talked to me about is teaching about hygiene, sleep habits, how to manage stress, all these sorts of things. And to your point, I think you're spot on, about these people who work in the fashion industry to some degree contributing to that body dysmorphia. We talk about the NFT space and say for somebody to make $1, someone else has to lose $1. And it's kind of, it's true across all sorts of other aspects of life, right? For somebody to feel good about wearing clothing or this, that, and the other, there is going to be somebody who sees that and says, well, why don't I look that way? The same thing in the gym, right? You know, people exercise, of course, for well-being and that sort of thing, but when they look in the mirror, you know, part of the thing that drives them is they aren't comfortable with how they look. Even the most, you know, biggest, brawniest guys in the gym, they're still after more and more and more. And so it's really interesting that you're able to actively attack that in this space. So I do want to ask you, how do you think the kind of anonymity of NFTs in Web3 has contributed to people being more or less open to, you know, bring up topics that they might have not spoke on otherwise or questioned about otherwise?
I find that anonymity useful because mental health has so much shame and stigma, and my
Right.
community members, they can just talk to me behind their username. It's not their real name. I will never even call out even their username. If we're in a space, I will just, they can message me questions privately or message me in some sort of groups some way and say, can you talk about this topic or that topic, and I'll just, you know, dive into that topic and give all the wisdom that I have, or all the resources, and you know, kind of, we can signpost a lot as nurses, and signposting, if you want to read further, go into here, go into there, without them having to, you know, reveal their name, who they are, where they're from, and no one knows, like, you know, and that privacy, or having that privacy, can be so important for people, because it's such a shame that we still have this stigma, right, with mental health. But we do. It's different in different countries. I think we're really progressing in London, for example, or in the UK. But I mean, our communities are from all over the world, right? And some of them are facing real kind of prejudices,
For
and that they
sure.
can't open up. Yeah. It's not, maybe not even safe for them to open up about certain things. So it's nice to have me on you know, Discord thing. But I do really like being doxxed, if that makes sense. I really like that, because it's just, it feels nicer for me as well. I can come on camera, or I sometimes I do it in my Discord. I'll come on video and I'll be like, hey, let's talk face to face if you want to. Some people do, you know, and it's, you have that connection, that you know, we call it a therapeutic relationship in nursing, but you can build that a bit better when you're more face to face, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like I would feel better talking to you, you know, seeing you now and talking to a real person as opposed to maybe just somebody on the other side of a chat screen that I have no idea who the individual is.
Well,
Yeah.
I'll tell you what though. So I never used Discord ever until I got into NFTs. I never had
Ah,
friends on Discord. The only reason I changed my profile picture initially is because it seemed like everybody was doing it. I was like, well, what's going on? Because I was right at the very beginning when it started, and some of the guys I was following in this DFS space started changing it, and they had .eats, and I was like, what is this? And so then I changed it, and it was really interesting. My family and a lot of people that I knew, because I did it on Facebook just because no one did it, and people were just like, what is wrong with you? You know, but in the Discord communities with these people, we met doxed or undoxed, and a lot of us never actually met each other for a few months because, you know, I don't know, it's just kind of a weird thing in the space, but it's evolved into this. Like my closest friends now are on Discord, and we talk multiple times a week. And I've now been to in real life events with these people, but I promise you, I would have never probably been friends with them. And they're some of the most interesting, unique,
For sure.
different people I've ever met. Some of the smartest people. I've learned the most about Web3, and it was a weird. It's such a backwards way from everything I know on how to meet people. And I guess I just hadn't thought about it until you were talking about that. But it was a very interesting experience, and even meeting for the first time in real life, that was, you know, you've been seeing these people on Discord for a while. That was strange. And like we were saying before, this NFT NYC, it was almost like, imagine everybody that's there, you're meeting for the first time, and all you know is a PFP for most of these people. It was like one big blind date meetup. It was really interesting.
yeah.
I
We got to
just thought
meet.
that I hadn't
Sorry,
thought
go
about it
ahead,
until you said
Jones.
that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
so
hadn't thought about it. Yeah.
Uma, why don't you talk to us a little bit, because you mentioned earlier you were a mental health nurse outside of Web3, right? This is what you
Yeah.
did professionally. Even when you first transitioned in, you talked about kind of running from your nursing shift to go check out and play your role on the Humanians. So what kind of parallels are you seeing between the mental health opportunities people are going through outside of Web3 and the mental health opportunities people may be going through here in the crypto NFT Web3 space? Are there similarities? Are there differences? Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I can definitely see a lot of kind of burnout in the NFT space. That's people who are so excited about the space. The space is so exciting, right? And people want to come in and you want to achieve things really quickly. You want to be on Discord all day, Twitter all day, and you want to like people want to achieve things in such a short. I see you, Hofstad, putting your hand up, right? Got you. So put it like wanting to just achieve. I want to achieve this amazing like goal or something in the next 2 weeks or 2 days, or that's what I see. And then I see people burn out, and I see them come to me saying, I FOMO'd my soul into this space, and I'm like, I'm not sleeping, I haven't slept in days. I hear that,
Yeah.
I haven't slept in days. I'm struggling. My family are upset with me. My girlfriend's upset with me. My wife's upset with me. I haven't spent time with my kids, and now I'm like, why did I do all of that? Was it worth it? That's hard, and it's hard to hear as well, because I really want communities and community managers and founders to kind of think about this. I was a bit upset sometimes when I saw some servers who I felt like they kind of encouraged their community members to be on that voice channel for
Right.
16 hours a day.
Yep.
And I just wonder why, what for, for creating that FOMO, is it, or creating that hype, or there's a limit between creating a bit of interest into your service, right? And you got to balance that, looking after the well-being of your community members and what you expect from them.
Yeah, most definitely. We always talk about on this show, FOMO is one of the largest drivers in this space. And we used to say that FOMO is a driver of value for an NFT, right? In the terms of you see people purchasing this NFT, you think it's going to continue to go up, you want to be a part of that. But what we never talked about is the way that FOMO can be a driver of mental health opportunities and that sort of thing. And so I think that was a really great point. You kind of like turned the light bulb on in my head there. And so while we're on the topic of mental health and Web3, I know that you had some questions that you wanted to ask Hofstra and myself. So I think this would be a perfect time to do it. This isn't something that's happened on our show yet. We've got almost like 50 episodes up. And so this is awesome. I'm really excited to kind of do this and bring a little change. So let's get right into it.
Thank you so much. Thank you for joining my little kind of, I'm going to call it like a blitz quiz.
Okay, let's do it.
So, Hofstra, do you want to start first, or
Sure.
Jones? Who should I go? Hofstra,
Let's
you.
pick on Hofstra, so then I have time to think about my questions.
I'm a
or
good
my
case
responses.
study. Everything
Yeah.
you said was exactly. I think you told my story already.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay, let's do it. So, Hofstra, do you feel that you have found the right balance in Web3 and NFTs?
I feel pretty good now, but last year, the first 6 months, I was that guy. I didn't sleep. I actually had to go to the emergency room because I hadn't slept in 3 days. And
Wow.
you don't sleep for 3 days, you start acting kind of funny. And it was affecting my work. It was affecting everything. And I actually took 2 months off at the end of last year. I sold everything, took 2 months off, and then just completely turned NFTs off. And then I've got back in with less money invested. And the second time around, I said, I want to actually get involved in the communities that I'm in, because in the beginning it was all about trying to flip. And when you're doing that, you have to watch everything all the time. It's maybe not as bad now because there's not as many projects, but then everything was 100xing, and it was so new, and it was just crazy. And so you had to be on all the time. So I was at work, I wasn't paying attention. I'm on OpenSea doing all this stuff, and I 100% can relate. And I never would have thought. I mean, it sounded so embarrassing that, like, I went to this meeting one time, and I I'm in this like entrepreneur group with these pretty successful people, and I was so tired. And they were like, "What's wrong with you?" And I didn't want to tell them these cartoon pictures have like completely, messed me up.
Right.
And so it was just a little bit embarrassing. And even my friends, what am I going to tell them that like NFTs did this to me, and the metaverse, and you sound crazy when you're telling people this, especially people that don't get it. And so you kind of stay to yourself. It's not something you want to divulge, which makes it worse. But I think now I found a pretty good balance. One, not having as much money invested, I think was key for me. Because when you have $70,000 and swings go up and down, and you've got 20 grand in one project and it drops, like this happened to me on Fluff World. I bought at like 1.5 when ETH was at 4. Then I bought 2 more to kind of dollar cost average, but I had to sit on it for like 2 months. And that was super stressful for me. And then you're trying to make it up. If you have any sort of addictive personality, it's just, you want to keep going. And so
Sure.
It took a lot for me to really kind of step back and understand what was going on. And now I think sleep is so important. Not getting sleep, at least for me, will really mess you up. So I've been exercising. I'm back to kind of what I was doing before. Now I run a fairly large company. Trying to find a balance between that and NFTs has been a little bit interesting, but it's a lot better now than it was maybe, let's say, a year ago.
And I'm so glad you shared, because so many people it's going to resonate with so many people listening to this, and listening even later on. They're going to be like, I really, I've heard that so much. And I think even I've struggled. Like, luckily I have, family or friends that are like, who have been in the space longer than me, and kind of like reminding me as well, oh, be careful, Uma, don't stay up till 3 in the morning,
Right.
I'll stay up till 1 or 2 because I'm here now, but yeah. But be careful, because it's something we keep having to remind ourselves, right? And that FOMO is so strong sometimes that you get carried away. And there has been times where I've called into bed at 3 or 4 in the morning,
Right.
and my husband's asked me in the morning, what time did you come to bed? I'm like, I'm not telling you because I'm going to get in trouble. Like, you're going to be like, that's not healthy, man.
Yeah.
So yeah, we all struggle with that. So thank you for answering so honestly, because it's going to help people to hear that. It's going to, I know it's hard sometimes to open up and admit that we struggled like that, but it is really going to help people. Thank you. I
That's the
really love
most I've
that.
ever heard Hofstra spill his heart, to be honest.
Yeah,
It brought a tear to my eye
Hofstra.
for a second. Yeah.
It's very
It's
embarrassing. So my business partner is an addiction medicine physician. My job, I own a laboratory that does toxicology. So I work with psych docs, I work with addiction medicine docs. So like, you would be someone that I would call on, because we do prescription monitoring. So I'm very familiar with like the type of role that you have. But in a professional role, not everybody's feeling crypto, put it that way. Not everybody's feeling Web3. And so the only place that I ever found a connection was people on Twitter, as weird as that sounds. And then in Discord, because we were all nerdy, kind of FOMOing, and we all had this thing, right? And I couldn't share with my closest friends, any of this stuff, because they would make fun of me. And I'm in a professional organization, and I have physicians that work for me. I have pretty high-level scientists. And if I come in and I start talking about like buying land in the metaverse, and I'm racing digital horses when I was doing Zed Run, and I'm breeding digital horses, they thought that I was insane. So like you have to, for at least where I was at, I had to be careful who I told, because it's even weird saying this because NFTs is so new, but getting stigmatized because you're doing something that it's not the mainstream.
Right.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing to think about. I guess I hadn't really put it together, but
that's what we're here to do. Yeah,
Yeah.
provoke that thought.
Exactly. And Hostra, I really, you've reminded me of so many things there. Like, for example, I sometimes do a seminar on helping people when things crash. So when Luna crashed, when ETH crashed recently, obviously I was out there doing seminars on helping people how to manage that kind of disappointment and that heart sinking feeling, right? When you're asked your portfolios down and like how to get through it. And part of that kind of managing that disappointment thing, I would say to them is like, okay, I want you to reach out to people. Of course, it maybe I would even find myself saying, of course, maybe be sensible who you reach out to. You don't want to be reaching out to the people who are going to be like, I told you it was a scam. What the hell are you
Right.
doing? You know, like
Right.
saying that sometimes we do need to give people a second chance. If it's our best friend, childhood friend saying I told you so, they kind of do that to us, don't they? And then
Right.
they see the look on our face and then they're like, oh, sorry, let's take you out and let's make it better. But you're right, there's people out there that really don't know what we're doing in this space and don't quite trust it, and it is new, and it's outside of lots of people's comfort zone, and they can be overly worried maybe sometimes. Or I mean, there are things in this space that are worrying, you know, and then they feel like maybe we won't manage in this space or something, and they worry for us, and then all that FUD comes in, doesn't it? And yeah.
Well, and there's a lot of scenarios there. Like if you get scammed, you feel really stupid. If you lose $1,200 because you trusted some guy, told you he was going to do it, like a lot of times people don't talk about that, right? Because they don't want to look dumb.
But it hurts. It's a real hurt, you know.
And then you start coming down on yourself because you're like, I'm stupid. I shouldn't have done that. How even if you've been in the space for a while, it can happen. But imagine somebody that clicked the wrong button and got a Bored Ape or a Clone X or anything sizable, or even to some people like having a 0.2 ETH thing could be their savings for 3 months, and they're getting into it and they do something and lose it. That could be devastating.
Yeah, I lost $500 by trying to transfer from one. I think it was from like Binance to Coinbase or something, because I was getting annoyed with all the apps in my thing, and I clicked the wrong. So I clicked something wrong. It's gone. I've never seen that again. £500 is a lot for me. I'm a nurse, you know. I'm not a
Sure.
doctor, so I was hurting for a few days, and I was trying really hard not to do that thing, because I tell my patients not to do this, that thing that we automatically do. I'm so stupid, I'm so, but it's not, that's not showing myself like being compassionate to myself. That's not, showing myself that love. And I was trying to do what I tell people to do, which is like, how would you talk about this if this was your lovely husband or your lovely brother, or your lovely, would you tell them they're stupid? No, you wouldn't. You would pick them up and you'd be like, don't worry about it, we'll get through this. And
Yeah.
you're in this new space and you don't know any of these apps and all this cryptocurrencies. You don't know how blockchain works. You don't know how it all does. You'll find your feet now. You know that the first few transactions you're going to run it through with your brother, right?
Right.
Or,
Yeah, exactly.
and not feel like you're bothering them.
Yeah, we really don't
Yeah.
talk about this stuff. I mean, I've been in a couple Twitter spaces where they talk about mental health, but largely what you have in the NFT space is you have a lot of influencers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's a certain image that you have to uphold because you're the guy talking about NFTs, or, there's some pretty big people that, now they're not as loud, but it's a lot of like, everyone wants to tell the success story and not talk about, the losses or some of the stuff that actually really hurts. So then you got to keep this ego and this image up. But I part of me feels like the downturn in the market is a very humbling thing.
For sure.
I think that it'll bring humility to the space. But it'll be interesting to see how the space grows, because when there's another bull market, you're going to have more people come in, and then it'll be this FOMO thing all over again. But there's going to be people that know what's going on, and there's going to be people that don't, and there's an opportunity there for the wrong people. So it's just, I know that's so cliche to say we're so early, but these aren't really things that you would think to talk about in a year and a half of a space being open.
Yeah.
You know, or like even think about gaming addiction. That wasn't a thing that long ago, right? And so now you've got NFTs, Twitter, Discord. So you throw things that are already addictive like social media, and you add a couple more components like gambling
Making
and
cash for
all this
sure.
other stuff. It's a different animal than I think a lot of other things that are out there, because there hasn't been the ability to trade JPEGs before. And this is going to be a video game and all these other things. It's like you can't relate it. And part of me is like, why I'm so interested in this space is because it's so new. Things are being developed, and the experience of being there when something is being created is exciting. But a lot of downstream effects probably aren't going to hit until after a couple of years of this being in here. So it's interesting that you guys have a focus on a project, because a lot of projects actually talk about doing this stuff, right? But it becomes a side piece.
Right.
It's like, oh, we're going to do this charitable thing. But like, on the bottom of your thing, it says holding a Humanian NFT is not a flex about your personal wealth, but a flex for humanity. It's a flex for all the people who care for others on this wonderful planet we call home. I don't know. I just thought that was kind of cool.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
We really really passionately want to change that a little bit. We want to start a new trend. We want to start like, this is my social flex. I care about this, and I care about people, and I'm going to spread this positive message out there, a healthy message. I'm going to help people be, the best versions of themselves that they can be, and kind of guide them a little bit. Pick them up and brush the dirt off their knees and then push them back out again. Which I think lots of people in this space really want to do. There's a
Right.
lot of good people in this space.
It really
that was
reminds me of
wacky.
like the origins of, at least whenever I joined this space, it really was those like, we're all gonna make it vibes, right? People cared about each other. They said
Super
we're building a
positive.
space around community, caring for others, and that sort of thing. And that's really seems like you guys are bringing us back to our roots. So yeah, I really enjoy that. Did you have any other questions that you wanted to rapid fire off?
I do.
Let's pick you on the hot seat.
Yeah.
You did so well though.
I think, Jones, I'll go for you now. I'll
Okay.
give Hofstra a little bit of a break.
Great.
So one question I really wanted to ask you guys is, what's one thing that you do that, like, maybe like the most important thing that you think that you do that really helps your peace of mind, your mental health, your emotional health, your well-being? Like, what's that top thing that you do that really, helps you?
Drink a lot of alcohol. No, I'm just kidding. No, I think that's a great question. First of all, I think really there's two things that I do that really help me from a mental health perspective. The first thing is I live in Dallas, Texas. The temperature today, I don't have it on my screen, but I think it's 109 degrees. I bought a home kind of like weight set, if you will, like a power rack, and so I can do like any normal exercise I would like to do, and I exercise in my garage. And so what really helps me is I dedicate that time to myself. I put on a random playlist. I don't touch my phone after that, and I just run through my exercises. And really that is just like one touch point that says I'm disconnecting for this hour and a half, however long it is, and I'm just going to focus on myself. And it's crazy, I think about things while I'm exercising that I wouldn't think about throughout the day when I have my phone in my hand, right? And I think that may be a testament to my phone distracting me, to really just like maybe giving my mind a break, something like that. But that's number one, is exercise. And number two, right along the same line, something that my wife and I have just started doing a couple of months ago is we have dogs. One of them is sleeping right here, and we try to be really great dog owners. And so we walk them religiously every single day, no matter what. I mean, like the post office, rain, shine, sleet, or snow, like we are walking our dogs. And so previously we'd walk our dogs and we'd have, our phones in our pocket, and maybe we're checking our phone as we're doing this and that and the other. But now we leave our phones at home every single time. And it's like, it's been so great for us, our relationship, right? Because we're talking about things that we wouldn't have if we had our phones. And then two, it's just been great because, again, it's another touch point to disconnect. So I think actually, to kind of bring everything full circle, I have dedicated instances where I say my phone is not coming with me. I have no access to Web3, no access to anything else, and I'm just totally unplugged. And it is cumulatively maybe only 2.5 hours a day, but really it comes at the perfect time. And it really has been a blessing to unplug, to be honest with you.
I love that answer so much. We've been talking about this so much the last few weeks. So it's really great, Jones, that you put it up. We've been like trying to figure out ways to do this a bit more. Our founder Josh was like, "Oh, guys, there's something on the iPhone where you can turn off your notifications for a certain set amount of time, so you'll get no notification." And he does that whenever he's with his wife and his daughter, and it's date night or it's family time for a
Yeah,
certain amount of time a day, and he's worked it out that way. The rest of us are still struggling. So, I love dogs. Sadly, I'm in a really small studio flat in London, so we can't get a dog yet, but we're working on it.
great.
And that I can't wait to get my dog, and then I'll be doing the same thing as you. That's a brilliant idea. So thanks for inspiring me.
Yeah, it's perfect and it's just easy. It makes sense, to just leave. If we dedicate ourselves and our phone is literally not on our physical body, there's no way we can be on it. And then you realize you don't really miss it. I mean, sure, I have notifications. We come in, we cool in the house, we grab our phone and check it out. But it's just like we've dedicated that instance to unplugging. And if nothing else, I hope that it just kind of like helps me break the addiction piece by piece by piece.
Definitely. Thank you so much for giving us that little snippet into your life as well, because it's beautiful. I love it. I love
My
what you and
pleasure.
your
My
wife
pleasure.
do. It's lovely. I'm
So
going to ask my last little blitz question quiz to both of you, if that's
Okay,
all right.
great.
And that is like, what is maybe one thing that you wish you could do more of, or one thing you wish you could do or would want to do, and you feel like this could help you to kind of improve your well-being?
Go ahead, Hofstra.
so I've tried lots of different things over the years, and what I can say is I'm like a great C student, almost at everything, right? And it's easy to get hard on yourself. Like when people start diets or they start a new thing, they get real regimented, and if they don't get it right, they get down on themselves. I'm an idiot. Screw this. I'm not going to do it. Right.
Mm.
When I'm on it and I'm doing my thing, like a morning routine set in spirituality is really good. So journaling in when I'm on, this is what I'll do. But if I was going to say I would do more of something, it would be meditation, because meditation is for me the calmness that it brings. So like you were talking about exercise, I agree with that, but meditation, a consistent practice of it is really transformative. But if you throw in just that time for yourself, I would say that's what I would want to do more, is more time for myself, because I'm really good at it sometimes, and then sometimes I just don't do it for a long time, and I know the difference, the way that I feel when I'm not doing it. It's a big difference.
You really feel it, don't you? Yeah.
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 Like if you start
Definitely.
your day and you just get up and you're late, you hop in your car, you're in traffic. By the time you get to work, you're already like wound up, right? Someone talks to you, all of a sudden you're snapping, and then that just
Yep.
it just messes up. But if you start your day, you get up a little bit early, you put a little music on, maybe stretch, kind of throw some meditative music on, and just it doesn't take long. It's 5-10 minutes even. Writing some stuff down, getting a coffee, eating a good breakfast, like your day just goes so much different. And I had a situation yesterday. I was telling Sticky before that I had a moment, where, I got caught off guard and I snapped, and I couldn't sleep all last night. So today I'm trying to get back to it. And that's one thing I've really learned, is you don't get that time back. So if you didn't have a good day, just get back to it when you can, because you can't get the time back.
Yeah.
And I've learned that over the years, that I'm not as hard on myself if I'm off, because I know that there's things I can do to get back on. But in an NFT craze, when you're manic, good luck. Someone else is going to have to like point that out, or maybe see a specialist or something. But yeah,
I think that's great. I'm gonna give meditation a try. Sugar Sean talks about it all the time, so maybe I'll.
you know how I learned to meditate?
How's
It was
that?
the hip hop version. So it was Russell Simmons' book on meditation.
Love it. And I love that, because meditation means so much to different people. So for me, people like my friends and family who know me know that I love trees. And the reason I love trees is because I'm doing a kind of meditation that's called like mindfulness awareness, like mindful awareness. And what I'm doing is I'm admiring that tree, and I'm looking really at even all the different colors and how it's a little bit lighter at the top where the sun hits it, and it's the bird's nest that other people haven't noticed, but I know it's there, and the family of birds that live there, and the squirrels, and the like, really like the beauty of it, and you really take that in without maybe paying too much attention to any other racing thoughts that are going on in your mind, really just fully embracing that beautiful thing of nature. That is a kind of a form of meditation. It's mindfulness. It's all in the same kind of category, isn't it, of savoring the moment, and how that can bring you so much peace, right? So it's different for different people. So
Yeah.
I love any way people get into this, savoring that moment, and doing whatever works for you. It doesn't have to be, a more, we're not snobby, right? We're not snobby with our
Yeah.
meditation or our mindfulness. Whatever brings you peace. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think that's really interesting. And
Sticky, what's yours? You didn't answer.
Yeah, Jones, we want to know.
well, if you ask my wife, she would say I need more patience, which I will say I definitely need to work on. But I was thinking about it, and I think for me, something that would bring more mental wellness to my life would be to stop comparing myself to others. And to be honest with you, when I was initially thinking about this, I was going to kind of reference, and I'll still make the reference to like physique and exercise and that sort of thing, right? I follow these people on Twitter because they are, or on Instagram, which I just recently deleted my Instagram. So hopefully this will help with that a little bit. But I follow these individuals on Instagram and I see them, and sometimes you forget that they're posting, the absolute best version of their life possible, right? And like, let's take for instance, there's a guy named Liver King. I don't know if you guys know who Liver King is, but he's just like a brute, just a, basically like the ideal specimen of a man, if you will. And so like, looking at this guy, I've like changed my diet. There has been some positives from it because it's motivated me to exercise and that sort of thing. But I'm like looking in the mirror and it's like, gosh, night and day, he and I, and that does take a bit of a toll. And now to kind of bring it back to the Web3 space, I think we see it a lot to Hofstra's point earlier about these influencers, right? You see these people making huge hundreds of thousands of dollar flips, sometimes $1 million moves. And I sit and think like, gosh, what am I doing wrong? Like, why didn't I buy into this project that has happened? Why haven't I done that? And to be honest with you, all it does is, there are some positives that may be able to come out of it, right? Perhaps I am motivated to do more research or exercise more, like I mentioned earlier, but really in the long run it's not fair because again, we're not seeing the whole story. I'm not seeing that they lost $70,000 to be able to make this $50,000 play. All I'm seeing is that they made $50,000 on a totally different play and that sort of thing. And so I think if I were to really start judging myself fairly and taking things like that into account both in Web3 and outside of it, it would really benefit me. Absolutely. And
I
we
agree
got
so
Jay
much.
Grant in here. Liver
Hello.
King isn't real. So thank you, Jay Grant. Really appreciate that.
Thank you. Yes, I was going to say that. He's definitely not natural. I don't care what anybody says.
I was gonna say that a little bit as well, because we don't know always what's real in pictures, and that's actually what with our founders who worked in the fashion industry. I'm very lucky myself. I had a friend in school who was a model, so she would come in to school and she would show us like her before pictures and her after pictures, and you could see how her leg was kind of cut in half and covered with a shadow, and it's half the size than it normally, her thigh half the. She's already quite thin anyway, but that's how the pictures are. But you couldn't tell unless she pointed it out and showed us the before pictures. You might think that person's, gosh, incredibly thin, but it's not real, like not even realistic to get that thin, if that makes sense. Or so those pictures are really manipulated. I do think that many people who are so bulky do take steroids. I know they do because they tell me they do, it's a there are health things that come with that, and also body dysmorphia is something, and muscle
For sure.
dysmorphia is also a real thing, and
100%.
many men are really struggling with this muscle dysmorphia, just as many women are struggling with body dysmorphia, and many men are struggling with body dysmorphia.
So what's the definition of body dysmorphia? Like what is what does that actually mean? Like
Yeah.
define that.
So
I'm
with
glad you asked.
Yeah, yeah. So with body dysmorphia, people will perceive, they will feel that there is something with their body that um, is not. They feel that it's not nice looking, or it's not. It's exaggerated, or it's not pleasant to look at, and they feel that other people see it that way as well, when
Mm.
actually that's not the reality at all, and nobody is looking at that body part. With body dysmorphic disorder, it can be generally about the face, but it can be other parts of the body as well. Um, and people, that it's a real thing, that they think that people, for example, are not being their friends because of that body feature, or don't
Wow.
like them, or people, it can go that far. Yeah, people will, with body dysmorphic disorder, will shut themselves away because they feel like they are so difficult to look at, and people don't like them
Hmm.
because of a certain feature in their face, and they'll go to great lengths to try and cover this up somehow, maybe even wearing kind of like face masks, or balaclavas, or lots of makeup, or things to try and cover this thing. And it really is, if I'm honest, a bit of a losing touch with reality, because that's not the reality, right? That's not the reality. People don't perceive that body feature in a certain way at all. And it's kind of a real anxiety disorder. Actually, it really fits under that umbrella of an anxiety disorder. And it can get worse and worse the more that people experience it. Body dysmorphia is not as severe as body dysmorphic disorder. It's when body dysmorphia is people feeling like, for example, I've got a lovely ethnic nose. I might say, oh, is my nose a bit big? If you consider it for a Western nose, that can be quite petite. That could be body dysmorphia. And that's, that can, there's so much amazing treatment for both body dysmorphia and body dysmorphic disorder. One of the most common ones is that therapy, which is the CBT approach, cognitive behavioral therapy, where you kind of put things back into perspective, and you challenge these thoughts, and you kind of try and challenge them with that reality, and keep working that through with the therapist, as well as medication. But that's kind of my simple summary of body
Okay.
dysmorphia and body dysmorphic disorder. And you can imagine with muscle dysmorphia, very similar, you know, always feeling like it's not enough, it's not right, but actually other people don't perceive it that way. It's just with the person who feels that and perceives it that way.
Yeah, absolutely. This has been a really enlightening episode. I want to be respectful of your time because, again, I don't know if we mentioned it earlier, but you are in London, so it's almost 1 a.m. where Uma
It
is located right now. So before we go, I did want to ask, what are some like techniques or exercises to promote health and well-being on the blockchain that you would recommend to our audience?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked. I have so many. I'm going to try and rush through some of them and
Sure, sure.
summarize, if that's okay. Yeah.
Great,
I think my
perfect.
my main thing would be is to have like some sort of notebook or book next to your laptop, or whatever you do your work in, and to be logging what hours you do and where you do them, so that you can have a strategy of like, okay, you do not want to be grinding 16 hours a day in a server. That's not useful for anyone, not useful for you, not useful for that community. You want to be thinking, okay, how many hours a day do I want to spend in this space, and
Mhm,
sticking to those hours, and maybe planning it out somewhere. I'm going to spend this much time in this server, this much time in this server, and this much time doing this, and having a bit of a strategy for that, right? Like, what are you good at? I'm passionate about mental health. I'm good at health and well-being, and promoting that. People are good at all sorts of amazing things, and use that strategy to show your value in a server or a community, and say, oh, I can do this for the community, or this, or shall I teach you about this or something, rather than that kind of grinding, and missing out on spending time with your family, right? We know as healthcare staff, like, some of the ways to well-being is to invest in your relationships, and it's beautiful when you can
mhm.
invest in relationships on Discord, right? And meet those people that we've talked about, that become your great friends. But don't neglect your in real life friends, your family, your the people who are going to be there to pick you up when you need them to be. So it's really that balance, and I really want people to ask themselves, how many projects do I work on at a time? Don't be like, I'm going to just do them all. You know, like
Right.
I'm gonna,
Work
you know,
term.
another invite. Great, let's go. You know, you're gonna burn yourself out. Have a number of projects that you're going to focus on, and that's how many projects you're going to focus on. If you're working full time, it's not going to be as many, right? So please, you know, have that balance. Really think about your sleep hygiene. If you've joined the NFT space, the Web3 space, you are going to need a strategy to sleep now as well, because that's the space that we're in. Your phone is going to get pinged all night. We're all on different time zones, and we're a global community, we're a global space. So you're going to have to do some sleep hygiene stuff. You're going to put your phone away. It's going to take you a bit more time to relax, actually, to sleep, because this place is so exciting and so things. My sleep hygiene kind of notes and lectures go on for about 20-30 minutes, so I can't say them all, but you can just go away and Google what's good sleep hygiene. You know,
Okay.
people don't always know this term, sleep hygiene. It's something us nurses and doctors use. You know, what's a bad sleep habit that I'm doing, and how can I, you know, adjust that and change that. And then, yeah, I think, you know, during hard times, people can be hard on themselves. Remember to be kind to yourself and say, if a disappointing things happen in this space, which they will do because you're out of your comfort zone, right? We're all out of our comfort zone. You know, Elon Musk really lovely told us that, he told us this a few months ago, that if he had paid all his suppliers on time, Tesla would have gone bankrupt. You know, there was times in both 2007, 2008, and 2017, 2018 where he was close to bankruptcy. You know, and he isn't now. Obviously, he's doing amazing,
Sure.
but we are outside of our comfort zone, so we're going to fall like that. And that disappointment is a disappointing thing that happened, but you are not a disappointment. You know, we've said it so much, oh, I'm so stupid. You know, we really don't want to be doing that to ourselves. We want to be like telling ourselves that learning is that thing you do where you fall a few times and then you kind of get the rhythm of it when you're doing something new, like learning to ride a bike, right? Or learning to swim,
Right.
or, you know,
So I
it's such a
have one last question for you too.
Mhm.
And that was really good. Thank you. I think everything you said is right on the money. I mean, you are
Thank
a
you.
professional.
Thank you.
So if I am someone new that's buying in Humanians, what can I expect upcoming? And like, what do I do? Like, I get in the project, and what do I do?
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. I always love to talk about the Humanians, so thank you. I'm so happy for that question. So, our marketplace is coming out next week. Whoop, whoop, we've been so excited about it. It's coming out on the 26th, and we've got lots of cool things that are going to be on there. You know, for example, you can always talk to me if, you know, come into our Discord and talk to me if you want to talk about something. I might be slow getting back to you, but I will get back to you. And of course, I do spaces most days, but they are mostly group spaces. So people might want a bit more of a personal one-to-one session, and you know, you can do that with me in the marketplace. Book that in, and you
Oh,
know, that is
wow.
for yeah, that is for a very small kind of entrance fee, really, because it's quite easy to be a holder at the moment. Our floor price is quite a low entrance at the moment. So and that, but it's not just me, you know, it's not just me. You have access to me in the Discord anyway. It's not like I would, you know, I would say, oh, you know, sometimes I just don't always have the time to respond to everyone, and I have slots that are going to be booked in, like my work hour slots in the marketplace. But it's not just me. It's, you know, it's obviously the whitelist, it's the raffles, it's the NFTs, it's our two charity partners. So we donated, let me just check how much we donated. It was
Almost
37.
80 ETH, I think, right? Like
Yeah,
76, something like that.
yeah, yeah. It was 37.875 to each charity. So one was the Body Dysmorphic Disorder Foundation, and one was the Be Well Collective. And we, Josh and Romaine came to London a few months ago, and we managed to give it to. I was there when we gave it to our charity partners in person, and it was so lovely. And we managed to do it before ETH crashed, so the money was very safe with them before that happened,
Wow.
which is
Great.
because I feel for projects. I know some other projects were really wanting to do that, but they couldn't when ETH, you know, was volatile as it has been recently. So we have that marketplace. We are building our metaverse as well. Our vision for our metaverse. I remember when Josh showed me like the picture of it. of building it. I was like, where's my office going to be? And he knew me so well. He saw the biggest, tallest, pinkest tower, and he like circled that on his phone. He said, there you go, that can be your office where
Perfect.
people can come and visit you. But that's really, what we want to do. We want to create this metaverse where people come, they recharge. That's the Zen zone. That's a zone where you can come and talk to me, come and talk to the other. Because honestly, sometimes I'm not always available, right? I'm not on the space 24/7 because I try and keep that good balance. And I'll notice someone was talking about something, and the whole community comes together and are like, "Oh, we're here for you. Uma's told us this, or you should try this, or have you done this?" And I'll ping Uma and I'll tell her to come on, and the whole community is just really supportive like that. We want to recharge people, brush that dirt off and pick you up and help you to just be the best version of yourself. And of course, we do have exciting things coming out as well, other collections, PFP collections that are in the works. Our artist Bisbee is working super hard. So lots and lots of work that we are doing and building, and exciting things coming out in our marketplace. Some of us, because we're a bit childish like that, have been especially excited about the merchandise and the t-shirts, and because
Very
our
nice.
artwork's amazing, right? Yeah, you can see
Absolutely.
some of our, like, I've been taking home trophies. This is one of our Humanians from our art gallery thing that we did, and we're all really excited to be wearing our proud Humanians and social flexing.
Absolutely. So, again, this has been a great episode. I want to make sure we close with one of the comments from our viewers here. Clearly you are adored by the community. I also want to make sure that our audience knows I've got 4 Humanians. They're all staked right now. They've been staked, I'm pretty sure, since you guys put that opportunity up there. So, they've been earning their change token. I'm ready for the marketplace to drop. That is, again, on July 26th. Really, this has been one of the better conversations that I think we've had. This was really enlightening, very engaging, and we're talking about hard topics that people don't want to talk about, blockchain or off the blockchain. And so we really appreciate you coming on today. Last thing before we go, I know you're in London. Is there a football team you support?
West Ham United. You
Okay,
guys
that's
know
all
them?
right. The
Yeah.
Hammers, yeah,
Never
that's
heard of
okay.
them.
Could be worse for sure. I'm a Liverpool guy, but it might be a little different since I'm
Are
No,
they
United.
in like the
Liverpool, my
NFC or the
close.
AFC?
Say that again,
I said, are they in the
Hofstra.
NFC or the AFC?
Yeah, see, that's a NFL football joke. That's an
Right,
American
got
thing.
you.
Well,
Kidding, you
yeah,
guys didn't get it.
but yeah, absolutely.
Liverpool
So
are good, by the way. I'm just an East London girl, so West Ham it is for
I
me.
very
watched
nice.
Toby
Yeah, there's
Lasso, so I'm pretty much an expert.
there's some big UFC fights coming on in this weekend here in London at the O2. So I don't know why I'm saying that, but just a nice connection there. So, anyways, like I said, really appreciate you coming on. The show was great. I think people are going to get a lot of value out of this, and thank you for challenging us and giving us the opportunity to kind of share about how these topics impact our life. And again, I took some great notes. I think we're definitely going to grow from this. Now, everybody can find you on Twitter. Let me go ahead and share this before we go. They can find you on Twitter at Nurse Ouma,
That's
and
me. Yep.
yep, and the Humanians Project at the Humanians. So again, cannot thank you enough for coming on and sharing your expertise with us, especially since it's 1 a.m. now in London. We're going to let you go. For everybody watching, make sure you subscribe, tell a friend, especially if you enjoyed this content. We're bringing you guys the top guests in the space week in and week out, twice a week, as a matter of fact. Our next guest is coming up this Sunday. We've got Little Chronic, and he is launching a new single. He's doing things in the space, all sorts of stuff like that. So make sure you guys tune into that. Make sure you check out the Humanians and Uma. All over their socials will be posted in our description. Until next time, I'm Sticky, Hofstra, and Nurse